Good afternoon. Welcome to the afternoon session. And we begin with a few questions and answers, we hope. So the first question of this session is from someone in Melbourne who was asking in the Thai language, but I'll translate it into English. Question is, when sitting meditation, she feels like there's a energy.
Recording in progress.
Sorry. When she's sitting in meditation, there's a feeling of energy moving up through the body. You might call it an energy of uplifting, coming up from the ground, up through the body to the head. And it even feels like hands are lifting upwards, which brought up a doubt in the mind. What is this? Is this good or bad? What should I do next? Or what should I do with this unusual feeling which I've never had before? So this is very common in meditation. When we're new to meditation, we're putting our attention on an object such as the breathing in, breathing out. We have some faith, confidence in the Buddha and his teachings and teachers such as Ajahn Chah. So we are practicing in a sincere way, putting forth effort, energy in a determined way. So as you put your attention on your meditation object, the breath, you naturally start letting go of everything else. And of course, sometimes it's easier to let go than others. Sometimes there's something really bothering you and your mind doesn't settle down on the breath very easily at all. But other times, because we're sincere and trying hard, the mind starts to let go of everything else and comes to center its attention on the feeling of the breath. And the breath is a very relaxing, very calming influence on the mind. It's a very neutral object, it doesn't stir us up. So then body and mind begin to calm down. So if you read the Anapanasati Sutta, or teachings on Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, you'll see, first of all, you pay attention to short breath, long breath. Then you become aware of the mind and the body from the inside, what we call the breath body, because you're turning your attention inwards to the breath and letting go of everything else. You're not paying attention to sight, sound, taste, smell, touch, and even thoughts. You're letting them go. So you're much more sensitive and aware of your internal, what we call the breath body, just the feeling of the breath in the body. And the body, physically, it's still, so it's calm. And then mentally, you're also quietening down, becoming more still. So you start to experience well-being when the mindfulness with the breath is more continuous. You have this feeling of well-being and what we call rapture, piti, which is one of the factors of samadhi. So as you're centering your attention on the in and out breath, calming down, body and mind are more relaxed, rapture arises, and it literally has this uplifting sense, feeling to it. So it can be like waves of energy coming up through the body. Sometimes you feel, have sensations like ants crawling on your body or hair stand on end, tears come to your eyes. If it intensifies, you may feel very light, as if you're floating. maybe even the sensation of the body disappears altogether and becomes so light that you just can't sense your own body, and you feel very peaceful and your attention is internalized. So there are 5 different main types of piti that you may arise during your meditation. But if it's new to you, this experience, it may disturb you a bit, bring up doubt. What is that? Or concern, is it something that I need to do anything about? Of course you don't really. Your aim is just to keep returning to the breath. You know the breath in, you know the breath out, and whatever else happens, just notice it, just observe it, but you don't have to think a lot about it, attach to it, get involved with it. Just know whatever the reaction of the mind is at that time. Know how the body feels, how the mind feels. And if rapture is arising, well, you notice that it has a sort of disturbing nature to it, but you don't have to think much about it. What you may find is if you meditate often, you might still experience rapture, but you get to know it, so it doesn't bother your mind, and you may experience it for shorter periods or not so intensely because you know what it is. And your mind, when it's more peaceful, more calm, maybe it goes to an even deeper state of calm where it's not noticing rapture at all. So it's just one of those experiences you have in meditation sometimes, something to note, something to learn from, but not something you need to worry about. And just keep practicing, and you gain more experience in putting attention on your meditation object, letting go of distractions, the hindrances, and your mindfulness will improve, and you'll be able to let go of more and more. Next question. How should Buddhists deal with political issues? Should we stay away or voice ourselves? Well, that's why we're doing a retreat today, so that you can stay away from politics. So a retreat is one time, one place you can allow yourself to completely let go of things you're normally involved with in the world. So like family, work, politics. This is a time to see the value of just training and developing yourself and let go of all these more external issues. And that isn't to be selfish or not caring, it's just accepting that we also need to have time to ourselves. That's why we call it retreat. So you're secluding yourself from the business of the world. It may only be temporary, a retreat is temporary, but it's very valuable for us to have that time on our own, letting go of everything else. What you find is it helps to refresh and recharge your mental battery and give you some improved mindfulness, feelings of calm, letting go. Then your wisdom faculty, your insight and your understanding of problems and issues will improve because you're coming from a place of calm, stillness. So maybe after your retreat, where you may have forgotten or tried to let go of everything else, after your retreat, you come back to consider issues to do with family or work or politics. Your mind is going to be in a more wholesome state, more calm, more peaceful. Mindfulness is stronger, better. Perhaps you'll get some fresh insight into the problems and the issues you face. So it's not necessarily right or wrong to think about politics and political issues and things that affect you or affect society. But you also have to maybe see the importance of time and place. So this is a retreat. It's obviously not the best time to be thinking about politics. Whereas after the retreat, there may be times where it's needed, it's necessary for you to think about certain issues. But you can use the background and what you've learned in your retreat, in the mindfulness and the calm and the sila that you've developed, to help you when you have to go into political issues and think about them or talk about them. Because as we know, politics stirs people up very easily. We become emotional, become upset about injustices, things that need to be corrected. We can get angry, we can become sad, disappointed. Sometimes we can become greedy because there's things we want, but we're not seeing our greed, so it's at the expense of other people and we're not thinking of the benefit of others, we're just only thinking of ourselves or our group. So the practice of Buddhism, sila, samadhi, panya, all of this that you're learning on retreat can help you to then approach other parts of life from a place of peace and skillful thinking. So like sila, if you practice sila, then when you are considering political issues, if you understand sila, how to act in a moral way where you're not intentionally harming others, that can help you to deal with political issues so that you know the limits and restraints that will stop you from harmful politics. Becoming so angry that you say or do things that hurt other people, or you make decisions that may hurt other people, and so on. So mainly it's a matter of time and place, but also some of the deeper insights you get from meditation. You realize the world is impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self in its nature. So that when you're dealing with issues that affect society, political issues, that gives you the wisdom, the perspective not to have unrealistic expectations or get lost in your expectations or lost in your disappointments so much. If you know the world is impermanent, it's dukkha, it's unsatisfactory, that helps you to manage expectations and have a more practical approach to what you can do, what you can achieve, what maybe is difficult to achieve. If you practice mindfulness, you're more aware of your own level of knowledge, understanding, you're more aware of your own limits in terms of your energy, your time, who you are, your resources, or the group of people you're involved with, who they are, their resources, and what's achievable, what's possible. You're more mindful, so that you don't just dwell in frustration when you can't get what you want, but you're looking more at cause and effect and seeing what you can do that maybe is effective to get good change, to improve the world around you, where change may be very difficult, and you realize that so you don't get too frustrated by it, and so on. As you train in the Dhamma, mindfulness, wise reflection, sila, then you can relate to the world from the best possible place. The more Dhamma you practice, the more you're going to have a skillful interaction with the world. And you'll see the Buddha didn't stop people from getting involved with the world. He gave advice to leaders, people in leadership roles, gave advice for people in family, how to interact with your family members wisely, skillfully, how to interact with money, how to go to work in a way that is skillful, not harming others, and so on. Many, many teachings on issues that do touch on what we call nowadays politics. But you also have to give time to your own mind to grow in the Dhamma through meditation and retreats, listening to the Dhamma, practicing sila and so on, so that when you're engaging with society and the world, you can do it from a skillful place. Because we've probably all got experience where we've made mistakes and we got upset about something and then we said something that hurt someone or put someone off, or sometimes we damage our own cause by being too aggressive or rude or upset with things. So the practice of Dhamma in the long run should help your efforts to improve society and the world around you, but it also helps you to do it in a way that's effective and manage your expectations and harness your skills in the best way. That's why living in Thailand, I always used to like it that sometimes politicians would go to see monks, and the monks would give them Dhamma teachings, but they were very down to earth and often quite appropriate even for political issues. They teach, obviously try and encourage politicians to be honest, responsible, compassionate, all the sort of things you would expect, but also to remind them that, things are impermanent. So sometimes the economy changes, collapses, and it's beyond your control. One country can't control the whole world's economy, so there will be some issues that you can't control, and people would complain to Ajahn Chah about the price of this and the economy, and he say, you have to accept it. It's impermanent, it's not self, subject to causes and conditions. Often the Dhamma can help us relate to politics and social issues quite well. Or, somebody is being too aggressive in society and causing a lot of grief. Well, then the monk can remind them to practice patience, tolerance, metta, forgiveness, and so on. I remember there's the guy who came to see Ajahn Chah, who was a farmer, and he had lots of pigs, commercial pig farmer, so he'd send pigs off to the slaughterhouse to provide pork for the market. And so he's always looking at the price of meat. And he was telling Lumpur Cha, I'm really suffering this year. Ajahn Chah said, why? He said, the economy's no good, the price of meat is stagnating, I can't make any profit because I can't get much on the pork that I sell. So I'm really suffering, and my family's suffering, it's not a good year for us. Ajahn Chah said, well, I understand that, but look at it from the perspective of the pig. The pig is still dying to make your money, and so the pig is the one who's really suffering here. So sometimes the kind of down-to-earth approach of monks can just bring people back to reality. And even though you earn a little bit less this year than last year, or if you've still got food on the table, you're doing better than a pig who's sacrificing his life to feed people. Another question from Anonymous. Sometimes I will feel tired, both mentally and physically. Then there is little motivation for practice. Ajahn Chah used to say to continue to practice even if you feel tired. How can I motivate myself to do so? Please share Lumpur's personal experience on generating energy when life's troubles blow at you. Sadhu. Well, that's the point, isn't it? Because life's troubles blow at you from different directions and you never know what's coming next, you have to be ready and keep practicing. So yes, Ajahn Chah's style was, if you're tired, you practice. If you're energetic, you practice. If it's early, you practice. If it's late, you practice. He used to say things like, make the middle of the night like the middle of the day like middle of the night. So there's this sense of timelessness to the practice because you're bringing up mindfulness at every moment. That's your aim. Because mental defilements rooted in greed, anger, delusion come up any time and they catch us out. It's not like, you can do your practice 9 to 5 and then take a break and then go to sleep and the defilements will just sleep there and they won't pick up again until you get up tomorrow morning. They're there all the time. So you have to be practicing all the time. That's your goal. There's always more that you can do, always more to bring up in terms of mindfulness, effort, reflecting on the Dhamma. So you're training yourself to develop that attitude. There's always more to do, there's always more to practice. I've never done enough. Like the Buddha said, it's a danger for practitioners that they may achieve some well-being, make some good karma, practice some meditation, achieve some peace. And the mind loves to say, this is good enough, it's enough, and take a rest. So even people who can meditate well can still be lazy in the practice in that sense. They sit back on the success they've had so far, the peace, the samadhi, the feelings of goodness and pleasure that they experience from their meditation maybe. They take that as good enough, so they stop practicing, putting effort in. So it's even possible, they say, for a sotapanna, stream enterer, to be lazy. So some sotapannas get to Nibbana within one lifetime, some take longer. And one of the factors in why it might take longer to get to Nibbana is a laziness, taking the time, because when your more extreme suffering has reduced, then the pressure, the motivation may lapse a bit. Not completely. If it's a sotapanna, Aryapugala, then they're always going to have some motivation, but there's still degrees of motivation in the practice. And certainly for the ordinary unenlightened person, there'll be times when we just feel like giving up, being lazy, can't be bothered. Like you say, sometimes we just feel physically tired because we've got other things we are involved with, work, family, those kind of things, pressures. Sometimes it's illness. The weight of life on us just makes us kind of give up sometimes in the practice. But how do you arouse energy? You have to think life is a precious gift and it's impermanent. You're not here forever. Every day your chance to practice is running out. Like this timer, the egg timer, the sand, the what do they call it? That thing with the sand in it, I forget what they call it, a timer. And the sand is constantly draining away until it will be gone. Your life is like that, isn't it? Every day you get up, if you decide, I can't be bothered to meditate, can't be bothered to practice, listen to Dhamma, do anything fruitful in terms of Dhamma practice, that's another day lost. It's gone. And you can't retrieve time. You can't go back and retrieve time. You can't negotiate with time. Time is just marching on, and you're getting older every day, going towards your death every day. So one reflection is on the impermanence of life, on time, how your time is running out to get some energy up. There's other ways you're learning to get up determination in your practice, or sometimes we make adhitanas. So like just joining a meditation retreat for 5 days is a form of adhitana or determination. It's one of the 10 paramis. So you say, I'm going to do this meditation retreat program for 5 days. I'm going to complete it, start to finish. I'm not going to give up halfway through or get distracted, but I want to do it completely, follow the schedule, maybe even do more than the schedule. So making a determination, a resolution, and sticking to it, that develops many good qualities. This sticking to your goal and to the practice for your goal, being true to it, that's such a parami where you're sticking to the task you've assigned yourself. You're not wavering, giving up, however tired you get. So you can do it in the short term as well, just one meditation period. You say, okay, I'm going to sit here, I feel tired, but I'm going to complete 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever the time you've set yourself. So you can also make short-term goals. That's one way you can build up strength in the practice. You say, well, I can't sit for 3 hours because I'm exhausted, but I can sit for 30 minutes maybe. You make realistic resolutions, stick to them, and you might see short-term success, short-term goals of sitting, walking meditation, reflecting on the Dhamma of one kind or another. Like most people find it very difficult to develop the meditation on the body. Visualizing, contemplating the human body, dividing into its parts, into the 4 elements, seeing the body as a corpse. Most people find that very challenging, difficult. So you make small goals. You say, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. Just contemplate this body, visualize it, put attention on it, and stay within that one theme. for a period of time, short period of time. That's one example. Or say precepts are your obstacle or problem. You say, I'm going to keep the 5 precepts for a whole day. Even though I can't keep them every day, today I will do it. Or maybe the 8 precepts. So I'm going to keep the 8 precepts for this one day. I don't know about tomorrow or the future, but at least for today I'm going to do it. And then you stick to what you've decided. And at the end of the day, if you're successful, you can say, I did it. And you get some strength because you've got short-term success. Same with dana, when you're doing acts of service, making offerings, volunteering. It may be something that you're a little bit doubtful about or feel, can I really do it, or I can't be bothered to do it, but you make yourself do some small act of dana, you complete it, and you build on that. You get strength of mind from these short-term successes, completing these goals. Then you build on that, you get stronger in your practice. So on the level of dana, precepts, meditation. If you listen to a Dhamma talk, maybe determining I'm going to listen till the end. Because nowadays in our push-button world, we say, I'm halfway through a talk and I can't be bothered, turn it off, do something else. If you sit down to listen to a Dhamma talk, complete that task. Listen through to the end. Make yourself do that. Give yourself the time to do it. You make these kind of short-term commitments and you build up strength of mind, and even if you're feeling tired, bored, or if you're really brave, you just sit meditation and you say, well, what is tiredness anyway? What is the feeling of tiredness? When you say you're tired, what actually is that? You make it something that you're interested in to learn about. So is your tiredness in your head? Maybe you have some tension around the face when you're feeling tired. You may have a headache. Is it in the shoulders, the chest? When you're tired, do your legs feel any different than normal? And maybe if you've been walking a lot, for many hours, you might feel tired in the legs, but often you feel tired, you can't say it's in the legs or the arms maybe. Maybe the actual physical sensations of tiredness are fairly limited, fairly subtle. But first of all, just ask yourself, where are they? What does it feel like? So rather than just sticking with the label, the perception, oh, I am tired, and then reacting to that, giving yourself an excuse not to do any good, not to meditate, not to do some good thing that you could do. Stop and say, well, I feel tired, but what exactly is this feeling? Where is it? How bad is it? Have I been more tired than this? Maybe you have. Have I been more tired than this and done more than this when I was more tired than this? There'll be times in your life where you've pushed yourself to go without sleep, without food, without comfort in one way or another, and worked hard. Maybe today you're saying, I feel tired, I can't meditate. But ask yourself, but I've actually done more than this in situations where I was weaker than I am now. And then you get up, the way you're motivating yourself and you're giving yourself a comparison there that can help you get through a tired feeling at the moment by remembering times when you've pushed through it before or done more than this before. Or the other one is to think of teachers and other people who are good examples. You can see other people, they must feel tired like you, but they're not giving into it. They keep meditating, they keep practicing, which is why it's good to have teachers. So teachers like Ajahn Chah, everyone who lived with Ajahn Chah knew he had done more than they had in the practice. He could sit longer, walk longer, go without sleep, food, comfort. He gave more to people, teaching, organising the monastery, teaching people. So when you think of your teacher, then your own mind can't complain very much because you know there's always someone around who's done more than you, who's overcome their tiredness, who's kept going when they wanted to give up. They've learnt to train their mind in that way. So you think of your teacher, you get energy. And that's a very valid way of practice. You might call it Sanghanusati, recollecting your teacher and the qualities of your teacher. Could be the Buddha, could be your teacher. So like anyone who lived with Ajahn Chah, when you were close to Ajahn Chah, all complaints and grumbling faded because you knew it didn't mean much. How can you complain about feeling a bit ill, tired, run down when you know someone right next to you has gone beyond that and would just, they wouldn't give in to what you're trying to give into. They don't follow the excuses. And it's not just legend, people saw that over and over again, so they really believed it with a teacher like Ajahn Chah. And with the Buddha, it must have been the same when the Buddha was alive. People who knew the Buddha would know, this Buddha, he doesn't give in. He knows how to rise above the painful feelings in the body, the tiredness, the weakness, the obstacles, the external obstacles to the practice. He knew how to rise above them and overcome them. They would see that, so then when recollecting the Buddha or the Sangha, then they get the energy, the motivation to carry on. So recollecting Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha often brings energy in the practice. Recollecting death and impermanence brings energy. You have to find what works for you, and then you can use it again and again as a source of inspiration. Last question for this session. I have a loved one who is very negative towards me. I try to remain peaceful, but it seems that whenever he encounters me, I am like his biggest enemy. Is that past life karma? Well, you have to answer that yourself. If you've done anything to him in this life, then it's this life karma. Maybe you've given him a reason not to like you. You have to think back. If you can't think of anything, if you're fairly sure that you've never harmed that person, well, maybe it is from the past. But the fact is, if that's how they feel, you have to accept that. That's how they are. And you're not deliberately provoking them or doing things to make them feel like that. You're going to have to put up with it. So practice a lot of patience. Be very careful when you're with them. What you say, what you do, try not to unnecessarily provoke them, even though they may be annoying. You just have to be very patient with them. I imagine there's times when you don't have to be with them, so then you can relax a bit because you don't have to concern yourself about them. But you also have to remember that we'll never get everybody in the world liking us, praising us, being kind to us. There'll always be a mixture. So there'll always be somebody who likes us, somebody who doesn't. Somebody who speaks well to us and somebody who doesn't. Maybe one individual person, sometimes they like us, sometimes they don't. Or it may just be in the groups of people we're relating to. Some treat us well, some treat us worse. It's just part of life, isn't it? What we call the worldly winds, praise and by name, love and hate, gain and loss, these kind of pairs of experience. So, on the positive side, well, practice metta in meditation for this person. Because if they do dislike us and they show that, well, that may prompt bad feeling in us, anger, aversion in us. So, to counter that and prevent that happening, cultivate metta towards them. Maybe a bit more than you would normally develop for most people. Most people you feel fairly neutral towards, well, you don't have to do a lot for them because you already feel okay with them. But if there's this person who's always angry with you or upset with you, negative towards you, then you'll have to work harder in your own mind to keep your own mind even, to maintain compassion for this person because they're annoying you, or maybe they even bully you sometimes. I don't know the situation. You're going to have to work harder with them to keep your mind even, with goodwill and in a wholesome state because of the pressure from this person. So sometimes you'll get a rest when you're away from them. When you're with them, be careful, be mindful and develop goodwill. But manage your expectations. If they're really seeing you as their worst enemy and they're not changing very easily, then don't expect them to change. Get to know them and know, oh, this person, they don't like me. I'll have to live with that. so that when you're with them, you act appropriately because they don't like you. You know, it's a bit like there's some things in life you just have to accept, don't you? You can't change, so just manage it skillfully. So like you meet here in the forest, sometimes you meet a snake, poisonous snake. You're not going to like that snake because it's poisonous, it's risky, it's dangerous to you, but you don't have to think too much about it. You cultivate goodwill, you know, you don't have to go and kill it, but you're careful when you're with it because there's a risk there, it could bite you and poison you. So when you're with it, you carefully walk around it, you don't do sudden movements, you don't threaten it. And you have your encounter with the snake and then you carry on and that's the end of it. People that don't like us might be like that in the sense you're not going to like them, they don't like you, you don't like them. You can't change the way they are, but when you meet them, just be careful, walk around them, skirt around them rather than provoke them or threaten them, because then they'll rise up in even more anger towards you. So these are life's little teachings, aren't they? When you're with people who don't like you, you just have to be very patient and stick with your own good intention. Look after your own behaviour, body, speech and mind. That's sila. Keep your intention good so that if anything happens, if there's any misunderstanding or they criticise you or cause you trouble, well, if you need to explain yourself, you can from a place of confidence and peace because you know you're not doing anything to hurt that person. Because sometimes those people who see us as enemies, well, they'll create stuff, through their wrong perception. They'll see the worst in us, or they'll blame us for something we didn't do, and so on. So you have to be ready for that, so you don't get angry, and so you can explain yourself if required. And you say, "Oh no, I didn't do that thing that you just accused me of. Actually, I didn't do it," and so you can stay calm when you explain. Because they'll come, the accusations, the criticism, the negativity, either to your face or behind your back, it will come. So expect it, and then work out what's the best way to deal with it. And if you can stay calm, maintain your loving kindness, your mindfulness, your patience, you'll be able to deal with that all the better. As I said, sometimes there's nothing you can do in terms of changing them, so don't try, don't expect that. Just work on yourself. Use it as a test of your practice, and you come back to being mindful, patient in that situation.